and welcome to another edition of the European Soccer Show. Welcome back, everybody, and that everybody includes Leo. Welcome back, Leo. How are you?
Hello, everybody. How are you? And of course, everybody includes Daniel.
It does. Leo is practically a coq hoop or coq van, I believe it is in French. Because Leon won a match, which is nice. But
Finally,
as you pointed out before we start recording, Newcastle did not. So my smile is entirely forced. But let's bring everybody the headlines from this weekend's action from the top 5 European leagues. In England, are Arsenal actually bottling it as they suffer a third loss in 4 matches, with the imperious view of Manchester City looming in their rearview mirror. In Spain, Barcelona increased their lead at the top of La Liga. But that's not the real story, because the real story is the 5 of the bottom 6 won matches, which means the big guys in the middle are starting to sweat, much like Arsenal, in fact. Over in Germany, Bayern doing Bayern things. Everything else is fairly as we were, but we have a historic first to report from the Bundesliga, not just from the Bundesliga, for the top leagues across Europe. In Serie A, the relegation battle is down to the final 2 as Fiorentina squeak further away, much like Inter and their gap at the top. And every time that title challenge opens up, it snaps right back shut. And controversy in Ligue 1 as the league shows favour to the top of the table, Paris Saint-Germain, but more on that later. But to start with, we are going to go to the Premier League, and where else to begin but the ever-increasingly interesting title race, as Arsenal lost at home against Bournemouth 2-1, and Manchester City won at Chelsea 3-0, which means the gap is down to 6 points. Manchester City do have a game in hand against Crystal Palace, and it is those two teams facing each other next week. First of all, let's talk about the games themselves before we talk about the hypotheticals and the what happens next situation. But Arsenal were at home against Bournemouth. Like I say, they lost 2-1. Bournemouth were wonderful, but Arsenal were genuinely quite bad, weren't they? I think they only created a 0.19 xG from open play. That's not a good creative side. That's not a good attacking side.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think they seem like a team that is afraid to win. They seem to be more concerned with limiting their own mistakes than forcing their opponents one, which is obviously difficult. And when you need to win games, you can't only rely on avoiding mistakes. You have to provoke some from the opponents. You have to attack. You have to make your point on it and over your competitors. So yeah, it's been a tough weekend for Arsenal.
As underwhelming as Arsenal's attack looks, and it is a common thread, again, that's 3 losses in 4 matches against teams that really minus the final against Manchester City, the other 2 teams they really should be beating. Southampton in the Championship, Bournemouth mid-table in the Premier League. Even their victory at Sporting Club de Portugal in the Champions League last week was very, very close and very, very tense. Yeah. But as underwhelming as Arsenal's attack seems, Manchester City's are really purring, and it's your guy, Ryan Cherki, who seems to be doing it.
Yeah, you are totally right. The victory over Chelsea doesn't suffer of any kind of luck or something. They were dominant. Pep Guardiola they knew that if they lose this one, the title race would be over. And now, because they have won it, they totally can expect to become champion, because if they are to win every of their game, they will be crowned champion.
Well, I suppose that's hypothetical, just because it's down to goal difference.
So, of course, but we scoring 3 at Stamford Bridge, it helps.
Exactly. We would assume that Manchester City could score more goals than Arsenal. Having said that, thing is, there's a lot of doom and gloom over Arsenal, but we should highlight the fact in the Premier League over the last 5 matches, Arsenal has actually won 1 more point than Manchester City. So it's not as if it's like this run of form has completely affected like the last sort of month or two.
Yeah.
But it's a worrying trend because it was a cup final against Manchester City in which Arsenal didn't show up. The quarterfinal exit at Championship Southampton, losing 2-1, and again did not show up against Sporting. Now you could say that Champions League win, it was the sort of away Champions League performance you need. You know, sort of like it was very even, very tense. And they snatched it at the end. Fair enough, that can go either way.
Yeah.
But this defeat at home to Bournemouth, again, they just didn't show up. Do you think they've been hamstrung by their reliance on set pieces and that kind of thing? Because they look incapable of creating anything from open play, which is probably one of the reasons why the introduction of Max Dowman always seems like such a good idea, because he just starts crossing good deliveries into the box.
Yeah, but I think they assume to play as they play. So with set pieces and everything. But I think you need more, and because of their strikers, their forwards, except Victor Gyökeres, who is having, we can say it, a good second half of the season, they didn't show up when they needed to. So Bukayo Saka has been disappointing, Martinelli too. Some players, Martin Odegaard, for example, between injuries and performances, he has been also disappointing. So without a good forward line, it's difficult to
yeah, and also we should
yeah.
probably highlight the fact that despite the fact they have quite a substantial squad, there's actually not that much rotation, which is quite a strange thing.
No.
A reliance on the same cause. Well, the only consolation for Arsenal supporters is that, as bad as their weekend was, Tottenham Hotspur's was even worse, because the weekend started with West Ham United defeating Wolves 4-0, which took West Ham out of the relegation zone. And at during the same weekend, you had, where have they gone? Nottingham Forest drew 1-1 at home against Aston Villa, which took them 3 points ahead of Spurs. And what could Spurs do on Sunday? They went to Sunderland and they lost 1-0. A deflected Mukiele strike, the only goal of the game. So De Zerbi's reign starts with the defeats. Did Tottenham Hotspur show you any reason to be optimistic, or did they look as terrified as ever?
To be honest, it's hard to be truly optimistic when you look at not only at their rankings in the table, but also at their performances, because they seem to lack a lot of things, and they are still winless in 2026. They struggle to score. They concede goals consistently. I think it's concerning Tottenham. It's one thing to be fighting for survival, but it's quite another to be fighting for survival without having been prepared or conditioned for it. It's all the more complicated because the players don't really know how to apprehend that kind of situation, and yeah, it's difficult especially when you see when you take a look at West Ham's performances. Nottingham draws.
Well, on that note, to give some context, so in the last 6 matches, Tottenham Hotspur have won a single point. Whereas West Ham have got 7 points in the last 4 matches. Nottingham Forest have had 6 in the last 4. Leeds United 5 in the last 4. And in fact, Leeds United are undefeated in the last 3. Nottingham Forest the last 4. So there is momentum and stability in all of those sides, and Spurs seems to be the one that can't seem to get anything going. This is now a quick trivia question, an earlier trivia question. This is such a bad run of form for Tottenham Hotspur. And to remind everybody, they have not won a league match this year. It is now mid-April. This is the longest run without a win in Spurs history since what year?
Last year. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, but we can remember that they finished 17th last season. So
the last couple of years have been awful for Spurs.
Yeah.
I'll give you a clue. At this time, there'd only been one World War.
I don't have any clue of
Fair
that.
enough.
But
Okay, so
yeah,
1935 was that's the last time Spurs went through such a long wait without a
yeah,
victory, and that record, by the way, is 16 matches, and currently it's 14. So
14. Yeah.
another 3 without a win, and it is the longest wait for a win ever in Spurs history. We should move on from Spurs just kicking them when they're down, but yeah, big trouble. We should probably talk about the chase for Europe. So. Third place, Man United, who lost at home to Leeds. As I said, Leeds also had a good weekend, pulling away from Spurs. They're now 6 points clear of Spurs, which is a huge gap at this stage. Did you watch this match, Leeds at Man United? Because Leeds United were fantastic.
Yeah, they were. I read something about a statistic. It's the first time they actually win a game at Old Trafford in 45 years. So it's obviously a feat to win
I
there.
should say league match.
Yeah, league match. Sorry. And for Manchester United, it's obviously a disappointing result because they remain at striking distance of Aston Villa and Liverpool.
Again, let's give context to that. So Man United are third. I mean, we should say actually they're quite safe for Champions League football. So Manchester United are third on 55. Aston Villa are fourth on 55. And then fifth are Liverpool on 52 after their 2-0 victory over Fulham. And then there's a 4-point gap. So remember, the top 5 in the Premier League get Champions League football. Yeah. There's now a 4-point gap between Liverpool and Chelsea on 48. Now, between Chelsea on 48, 6 points behind them, so that's 2 victories, is 14th place Newcastle. So you've got this astonishing thing where anywhere between 6th and 14th, those teams are all playing for European football, Europa League, Conference League. And that's Chelsea, Brentford, Everton, Brighton, Sunderland, Bournemouth, Fulham, Crystal Palace, and Newcastle. I mean, there's part of me that really hopes that Chelsea and Newcastle sort of get knocked out of those top 8. And we have just 2 completely new sides going into Europe. It's so exciting. And what an opportunity for all of those clubs who have had fantastic seasons.
Yeah, because if I was a Chelsea fan, looking at the form of the moment, I would be quite anxious about losing the European qualification, which would be a terrible drama for a team that invested so much.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm going to jump in because I just remembered. And apologies for interrupting. But also, I always feel like there's this context with sides with an ego. So, for example, Chelsea being in the Conference League a couple of seasons ago. Last season, rather, none of the Chelsea fans cared. Therefore, they end up winning a trophy, and none of them cared about it. So very few of the matches of that, like at home, were sold out, that kind of thing. Whereas, literally every single one of those sides that I've mentioned, even Newcastle, if they got Conference League football, would be delighted. Same thing with Europa League. So I just feel like teams like Chelsea, they don't appreciate being in the Europa League or the Conference League because, again, it's like they're an elite club. So there's a bit of a there's no better way to describe it other than an ego, but there is a slightly status thing. Would you think?
Yeah, I agree. And there is something we don't really talk about is that the more you are high in the table, the more you get money from it. And
that's a really good point. Yeah.
Even if we don't talk about, even if Chelsea don't want to be in the Europa League or Conference League, and which is something I can totally understand. This is not the same thing to finish 6th or 7th or 14th if they are, because there is a possibility for them to drop. So if we just talk about money and everything, their interest is to finish in the top, the highest they can, the higher they can.
You make a very good point. Speaking of which, other teams fighting for Europe: Brentford 2, Everton 2. Igor Thiago with another couple of goals there, which means he's now only 1 goal behind Erling Haaland. Is Haaland not going to get the golden boot? In fact, my money's currently on Brighton making it into Europe because they won 2-0 at Burnley, which is their 5th victory in 6. So those worries a few weeks ago seem to have completely gone.
Yeah,
for
that's what I was
And
going
the
to
only
say.
other result we mentioned before, Newcastle went to Crystal Palace and lost 2-1, but we won't talk about that. So we're going to go on to Serie A, Italia. And we've got a lot to talk about here as well, and particularly the relegation fight and the Champions League chase. So let's start with game of the weekend. What a match on Sunday night. Como, the Pretenders. Como 3, Internazionale 4. What a match. Now, if you did get to see it, guys, Como took a 2-0 lead and had that going into stoppage time of the first half when Marcus Thuram nicked one before the break. And then after which we had a couple of goals from Dumfries. Marcus Thuram got a second before Dumfries got a second. And then a penalty from Da Cunha gave Como hope going into the final minutes, but couldn't find the equaliser. But some stats. So Como, again, this is Internazionale, Inter. Como had 60% of the possession. Como had 24 shots to Inter's 7. Como had 8 shots on target to Inter's 5. So Como were the better side against the best team in Italy. I mean, it's a shame they lost, but also what a way to go for them.
Yeah, to be honest, a draw would have been maybe more fair to Como, but Inter knew that with a win at Como, they would virtually secure the league title, of course, because they are now 9 points clear of the second. I will not say who it is. And to be honest, credit to Inter also, because the way they won this game, they did it in style. They put their experience on the line, and I think that's made the difference with Como. They know how to win. They have already won in the last few years. They are players who can understand and know how to handle the pressure of such moments. But yeah, yet Como would have deserved a point from the draw if we
absolutely. Well, and Como, with that result, actually dropped out of the Champions League places because Juventus went to Atalanta, who themselves, with a victory, would close the gap to just a couple of points. But Juventus won 1-0 in Bergamo, the only goal coming from Boga. A really actually impressive performance from Juve, good result, and they are now back in fourth. Credit where credit's due. It was an impressive, almost, I don't want to say mature result, but essentially doing what needed to be done and doing it quite controlled as well.
Yeah, it is. First, it's a brilliant move in the race for the Champions League. As you mentioned, they are now fourth. They are ahead of Como by 2 points. They are trailing the podium by 3. So obviously, it's a really positive result, and moreover, it's permitted them to secure European football for next season, virtually, of course, but because they are 7 points ahead of Atalanta, who they have beaten this weekend. They can now completely focus on the Champions League spot.
Well, and elsewhere for the Champions League chase, on Friday, Roma defeated Pisa, and then everyone does, 3-0 at home. Donyell Malen getting a hat-trick, which means I believe he's third in the top goal scorer list in Serie A, despite the fact he only signed in January, which is mad. But also, AC Milan 0, Udinese 3. An astonishing result. And AC Milan now a third, but are currently only 5 points ahead of Como. AC Milan, that's their third loss in 4, are suddenly at risk of losing Champions League football. Do you think that's a real possibility, or do you think they've got enough of a buffer to not worry about it?
Yeah, I think you're right, Daniel. A few weeks ago, we thought Milan were comfortably settled in second place in the table. We even said that they could maybe compete with Inter for the title. Yet now we are wondering whether they will hold on their Champions League qualification, qualification spot. So it's quite disturbing for that club. We have to notice that Rafael Leao, for example, was booed by San Siro during the game. I think this is a team that don't exude any real collective strength, and they are paying for it now.
I was going to ask. So, so Napoli are still second. They're 3 points ahead of AC Milan after they drew at Parma. They actually conceded in the first minute of the game before McTominay found an equaliser in the second half. So Napoli 9 points behind Inter in second place, but AC Milan third, 63. Juventus are on 60. Como 58, and Roma 57. So 4 teams separated by 6 points. In your opinion, who gets Champions League football? Who misses out?
I think Juventus will miss out Champions League football. Milan, even if they are in a drop of form, I think they will. First, they have an advantage by points. They are 3 points clear of Juventus, 5 of Como, and Como they seem to have what it takes to grab a Champions League spot.
I've got some fixtures here actually. So
yeah.
Roma in their run-in have to play Atalanta. That's going to be a fantastic match next week. Roma against Atalanta. If Atalanta win, they're back in the fight for European places. If Roma win, Atalanta are out. So yeah, then Bologna, Fiorentina, Parma, Lazio, Verona. For Como, you've got Sassuolo. They've got the second leg of the Coppa Italia semi-final against Inter. Genoa, Napoli, that's a big one. But then Verona,
at home,
Parma, Cremonese. So that is 2 of the bottom 4. And where else have I got it? Oh, yeah. And Juve have got Bologna, Milan. So they still got to go to Milan. But then also their running is quite favourable. Verona, Lecce, Fiorentina, Torino. So you think, but like I say, Juventus have the more favourable run-in, minus the away game at Milan. But you
they will also play. Yeah, they will also play Fiorentina. It will be. I think it will be a tough game because I think we will have a word on it. But mathematically, Fiorentina's survival is not yet guaranteed. So maybe because they will play them by the end of the season, 2 weeks before the final day of the season, they will maybe need to grab some points more to be assured. So it will be interesting to watch. And there is a derby against Torino, even if
of course the
there is a different. Yeah, there is a derby, and on the final match day, I don't think Torino will have something to play, but just for the image of beating Juventus, or at least drawing with Juventus, it could be interesting.
Speaking of Torino, they defeated Hellas Verona 2-1. We had the strange situation, as I said last week, where we had teams changing in the relegation zone, despite the fact they both lost. So Cagliari defeated Cremonese 1-0, which meant Cremonese were in the relegation zone. But then Lecce lost at Bologna 2-0. So then Lecce went back into the relegation zone. It's very, very stupid.
Yeah.
Genoa defeated Sassuolo 2-1. But Monday night, last night, Fiorentina defeated Lazio 1-0, which means Fiorentina are now 8 points clear of relegation and are probably safe. So we'll probably end Serie A here. So Cremonese are on 27, Lecce are on 27, and they're separated by goal difference alone. Which of those do you think are going down? Because both teams have only won 1 match in the last 7.
Yeah,
and all the others have been losses. Again, this is a real sort of whoever can lose the best.
Yeah, I should take a look. Let me take a look.
Can I tell you the fixtures? So Cremonese have Torino, Napoli, Lazio, Pisa, Udinese, and Como on the final day.
Yeah.
And then Lecce have Fiorentina, Verona, Pisa, 3 of the bottom 5, Juventus, Sassuolo, Genoa.
Only looking at the upcoming fixtures, Lecce seem to have an easier calendar than Cremonese.
It all comes down to two matches in a row, Verona and Pisa, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, very exciting. Okay, we should move on from Serie A there, although one final word on Udinese. So after they defeated Milan 3-0 at the San Siro, but they are currently 10th, but is having a really good season because, lest we forget, they also defeated Inter at San Siro, and they've also registered victories against Roma and Atalanta. So yeah, really, really impressive season from Udinese. Off to the Bundesliga. Just quick word on Bayern, who went to St. Pauli in the relegation playoff spots and won 5-0. And this was with a rotated side. Managed to rest a lot of the big hitters. But in doing so, they set a record number of goals in a Bundesliga season. They've now scored 105, and there are still five games left. Terrifying.
Terrifying.
I've got no other
Terrifying.
word.
Yeah. They are historical. We can even call them historical because, as you said, they have broken the Bundesliga record for goals scored in the season. It was 101. So yeah, they are just historical, terrifying. All the more that they played with a rotated team, as you said, because of course of the quarterfinal second leg against Real Madrid tomorrow. So they will win the Bundesliga. Harry Kane will win his second championship in a row. Greetings for Bayern.
I suppose the most impressive result of the weekend was Bayer Leverkusen went to Dortmund and defeated Borussia Dortmund 1-0 with Andrich getting the only goal. Which, in doing so, Bayer have leapfrogged Hoffenheim, who went to Augsburg and could only draw 2-2. Although, actually, credit Hoffenheim were 2-0 down in the first 15 minutes before coming back to level things. So yeah, Bayer are now up to 5th. Now, I wanted to bring this up because I know we've been saying La Liga are most likely to get that another 5th Champions League spot. But there is a real possibility that Germany have come back into it because of results in the Europa League and the Conference League. There's a real possibility of all Spanish teams getting knocked out, all the German teams going through, and then in the Champions League, obviously one of Barcelona or Atletico Madrid will going to get knocked out, and Real Madrid may well get knocked out against Bayern. Yeah. So suddenly, Germany out of nowhere might grab that 5th spot. So that 5th place is now all the more important.
Even more if Bayern are to win the Champions League.
I don't think that changes anything. I think that only
just for the numbers of the for the rankings.
Oh, sorry, I see what you mean. The coefficiency. Yeah, absolutely.
The coefficiency. Yeah. So it will be quite interesting, and of course it's very important for the teams. I think it will be two teams battle between Leverkusen and Hoffenheim, but it's really important to assure your 5th spot, 5th place in the table.
We should also say Hoffenheim. They think it looks like they've run out of steam a bit. That's no wins in 4, and to be fair, they're still having a great season. They are 9 points clear of Frankfurt in 6th, which will be some form of European competition anyway. So still a fantastic season. Bayer Leverkusen are now 4 points behind RB Leipzig in 4th, who defeated Borussia Mönchengladbach 1-0 at home. Stuttgart also defeated Hamburg 4-0. Great performance there. So they are also on 56 points. But one of the biggest stories this week came from Heidenheim. So a few things to pick out. First of all, only 2 teams in the bottom half won a game this week. One was Köln, who defeated Werder Bremen 3-1 to pull 5 points clear of relegation playoffs. So that really eases their worries. But Heidenheim were the only other team in the bottom half to win. So bottom of the table, Heidenheim won, which means they are now only 2 points behind Wolfsburg, which is not great for Wolfsburg, but gives Heidenheim an opportunity. They're now 6 points behind the relegation playoff zone. But the big news actually came from Union Berlin. In doing so, Union Berlin fired their first team coach, Steffen Baumgart, and the interim head coach for the rest of the season is Marie-Louise Etter, who becomes the first woman to be hired as manager or head coach of a top 5 European club. Historic, quite literally, the first woman to do so. Now it's interesting and also completely predictable. In the 2 days it's been since she's been hired, she's also been inundated with sexist abuse online and whatnot. And the
Yeah,
club
I
has
saw
stood
that.
with her, as has the Bundesliga, and so on and so on. But this is no surprise, is it? Because a couple of years ago, Marie-Louise Etta actually jumped up. She was the first female assistant manager as well to be in one of the top clubs of the top 5 European leagues. And so this is just career progression, isn't it? She's earned this opportunity. It's not just a gimmick.
Yes, she's earned it, and I read something that Luca Touzard told about her is that she really has qualities on her job. He backed her up, which is important, I think, in a when you think about male football, you think about only males, and it's important for women to have the opportunity to not, I don't want to say prove themselves, but to be in this world, because it doesn't only it's not only, sorry, open for men, and it shouldn't be.
And we should say as well, it's an interim position, so she'll be in charge for
Yeah.
the last 5 matches of the season, and then she is actually going to be head coach of the women's side, Union Berlin. Yeah, best of luck to her. Really, really do.
Yeah.
The other results to bring you: Wolfsburg, as I already said, stay in that relegation zone. They lost 2-1 at home to Frankfurt, and the only other one to say is Mainz lost at home 1-0 to Freiburg. So as it stands at the bottom of the table, Heidenheim on 19, Wolfsburg on 21, a 4-point gap to St. Pauli, but then a 3-point gap to Werder Bremen. So, I mean, first of all, Wolfsburg just have to start winning games. They are 7 points from safety, which is astonishing. But other teams are slowly pulling away. So St. Pauli as well, only 3 points behind Werder Bremen, and that's it. So yeah, St. Pauli, Wolfsburg, they're the teams with work to do.
Yeah, you're right, and it's so disturbing to see a team like Wolfsburg being in a so bad position, because when you take a look at their squad, at the players they got, they shouldn't be playing relegation football. They should be playing around with Offenheim, with Frankfurt, with Freiburg, not at the bottom of the table.
Right, well, we're going to park that there. Now, if you thought the battle for European positions in the Premier League was fun, wait till you see the relegation battle in La Liga. As I said, 5 of the bottom 6 won their matches. It was an absolutely astonishing weekend, and the other team ended up drawing as well. And none of the middle teams. So essentially, a lot more teams have been sucked back into the relegation battle. It's fantastic. So I think we should start, but we should start with the big lads. First of all, Friday, Real Madrid 1, Girona 1. Incredibly underwhelming performance from Real. I suppose the only thing I want to point out, so when they fired Xabi Alonso, Real Madrid were 4 points behind Barcelona in the table, and they are now 9 after Barcelona won the Catalan derby 4-1 against Espanyol. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to say. Does the responsibility for this lie with the people above Arbeloa? Are serious questions going to be asked about the people at the top of the pyramid in Real Madrid? Because it does seem like firing Xabi Alonso has caused more problems. The XG against them has gotten worse. The XG for them has gotten worse. A lot of other metrics are worse since firing out Xabi Alonso, and they are now they're very close to being knocked out of the Champions League, and they're not going to win La Liga. It's hard to defend their decision, isn't it?
Yeah, I do think it's above the team and Arbeloa. Even in the when you take a look at the transfer windows, everything is playing in a bizarre way at this club. They lose some very important players with Toni Kroos, with Modric, with Benzema, even if it was 2 years ago. But they have never been replaced. Of course, Kylian Mbappe has come to the squad, but with especially with Kroos and Modric. And when you take a look at what Modric does in the Serie A, even if it's maybe slower than in La Liga, and it's okay, but they haven't been replaced, and that team depended on their midfield. So this is a strange choice. And when you take a look at also the performances of the players they recruited, for example, Trent Alexander-Arnold, they have been disappointing.
Although we should point out that like people like Trent were signed with Xabi Alonso as head coach.
Yeah,
So I mean,
also.
the thought occurred like when you saw. I mean, for example, his assist for Kylian Mbappe in their defeat to Bayern Munich was fantastic. Like, so you can see like
Yeah,
the attacking use of him. But obviously, Xabi Alonso had his own ideas, and they are not. They're not. Obviously, he's no longer here, and Trent was injured for most of his tenureship.
yeah.
His tenure, sorry. Yeah, it's just very strange. We should also say Barcelona, like I say, defeated Espanyol 4-1. A couple of goals from Ferran Torres, one for Lamine Yamal, as well as a couple of assists, Marcus Rashford. Is this the title race done?
I do think the title race done.
Good. We'll end it there. Right. Let's talk about the relegation
but
battle.
we should just say that it's no mean feat that Barcelona are going to win a third league title in 4 years. It's kind of impressive.
Absolutely, especially when you consider the difficulties of their finances. The fact that actually in sporting terms, they've been competitive even.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously the club is spending money they don't have essentially as well. So but that first championship under Xavi was particularly impressive, or unexpected rather. Okay, so yes, let's talk about some relegation candidates. First of all, bottom of the table, Real Oviedo went to Celta Vigo, Champions League chasing Celta Vigo, and won 3-0. I mean, Oviedo's choice to change manager is paying real dividends. That's 3 wins from their last 4, 10 points in the last 6 matches, and they're now only 6 points from safety. I know that's 6 points a lot, but no, suddenly it's doable. You can believe. I mean, the fact that Real it's 3 wins from 4, suddenly like, oh yeah, they could win another 2 matches. This can happen. Literally, the whole of the bottom half of the table can get relegated.
That's impressive. The standards are quite high, and some clubs could be relegated with around 40 points, I guess, which is obviously impressive high. You were talking about their results, which is interesting is that, for example, Sevilla capitalized on Atletico's rotation ahead of the game with Barca.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I was going to say, say like 15th and below, Mallorca, 3 wins from 4, Elche, 2 wins from 3, Levante, 2 wins from 3, Real Oviedo, 3 wins from 4. So like you've got this momentum suddenly, you've got this uplift. Alaves, not so much, although they are undefeated in 4 games, so they've only won one of those. Sevilla were the team without momentum, without consistency, without points. So yeah, they really took advantage of Atletico Madrid's focus on other competitions.
Yeah, it's impressive. And when you took a look at the mid-table teams, you can see that they have let everything slip from their hand. So even when you look at Levante, what they have been doing since February, it's impressive. You were talking about Mallorca. Vedat Muriqi, for example, has now scored 21 goals in La Liga.
Really?
He's challenging Kylian Mbappe, who has scored 23 for the Golden Boot. So yeah, all of these teams have something to play, and it will be tough until the end.
Well, part of the reason we've had this sort of like compression to take you through some, for example, Elche defeated Valencia 1-0, so that's relegation threatens defeating mid-table. Mallorca defeated Rayo Vallecano 3-0, that's the relegation threatened defeating mid-table. Levante defeated Getafe, relegation threatened defeating now European chasing Getafe.
Yeah.
The only team in the bottom 6 that didn't win were Alaves, who went to Real Sociedad and drew 3-3. So it's almost like all of the teams are rolling the dice. They're not playing safe. They actually are going for it.
Yeah.
And even though there's actually, weirdly, there's not been any change to the bottom six because they all got points. But like I say, the fact that they dragging the mid-table teams into it can cause. You just need one of them to crumble under the pressure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Only a win can change everything on the table. You were talking about Alaves drawing at Real Sociedad. They were trailing at the 97th minute. So
Sorry, yes, it's like Boye got the equaliser. So
yeah,
that's a bit
it's like they have that spirit that says them, okay, we desperately need points, and yeah, it's interesting.
Elsewhere, the last thing we'll say about La Liga, because again, just look at the table for the drama there.
Yeah.
And the fun thing is, in the last 7 matches, so many of those teams have to play each other. So opportunity knocks. But the last thing to say about the hypothetical 5th place Champions League spots, because Real Betis currently occupy that. They're 11 points behind Atletico Madrid. So the top 4 are done.
Yeah.
So 5th is Real Betis, but they've had no wins in 7. 2 points behind them are Celta Vigo, who have had 1 win in 7. And then you've got Real Sociedad, who 3 wins in the last 6, bits more consistent. Getafe below them, 4 wins from the last 6. It does feel like it does feel like the 5th place in the Bundesliga are currently stronger than the 5th place in the La Liga, or there's more sort of more consistency, more urgency about the Bundesliga sides. Would you say?
I would say that the race in La Liga is tougher because there are 4 teams competing for the 5th and 6th place. In Bundesliga, if I'm not mistaken, there are only Hoffenheim and Frankfurt. So maybe it says more about the level of these teams, because the gap in Bundesliga is higher than.
That makes sense.
Bigger
But I suppose why I'm asking though is because, Betis in these 7 matches, not all of those 7 matches have been against teams above them in the table. Real Betis have lost all momentum. They are going through a really bad run of form, as are Celta Vigo. So it does feel like the teams that had the opportunity, should that 5th place become a Champions League spot, they had that opportunity and they're not taking that opportunity, and they're opening the door to teams like Real Sociedad and even Getafe, who are only 5 points behind Betis. Getafe.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
How does that happen?
Especially when you used to watch Getafe, Jose Bordalas Getafe with this defensive block, only one shot on target, 1 goal.
They were 19th at the start of the year. They were 19th in La Liga, I think. Oh my god, what a turnaround! Anyway, anything else we've not said? Osasuna drew 1-1 with Betis. Athletic lost against Villarreal, but I haven't got that score. Okay, so we are going to go to a League to end things up, and it's going to be a quick visit, isn't it? Because there weren't many matches.
No, because Paris Saint-Germain and Strasbourg are in the quarterfinals, so the league decided to postpone.
I would like to talk about this first before we talk about the Champions League stuff. So there is huge controversy with supporters because early on in the season, Paris Saint-Germain's match against Nantes was postponed, so Paris Saint-Germain could concentrate on the Champions League, and not much of an eye was batted because Nantes agreed, and opposite ends of the table, probably going to lose anyway. But this match this weekend was first against second, Paris Saint-Germain against Lens, and even though the title race isn't quite as close as we hoped it would be, the fact is Lens had an opportunity to close the gap while Paris Saint-Germain were distracted by the Champions League. And yet, the French Football Federation have decided to side with Paris Saint-Germain. So even though that Lens did not want the postponement, they enforced it. So it does seem like they are getting sporting preference. So Paris Saint-Germain are being given an advantage, are they not?
The thing is that Paris Saint-Germain are allowed to postpone this game because of the rules of the league, which are, I agree, totally dumb, because how do you want to promote your league worldwide if it's impossible for the second or third team in the table to compete with the first.
And actually, on that point, that's a really good point, because part of the criticism has been that it seems like the French FA, or which what is it called? The something F.
Fédération Française de Football,
Thank you.
FFF.
That have been basically what they're giving off is that the Champions League is a more important competition than that. Like they're downplaying their own competition, saying nope, that one's much more important. And even the conference, if they're allowing Strasbourg to postpone as well, and because Strasbourg are also, because they're concentrating on the cups, they're not focusing on the league, and yet they're still allowed to do it. It's insane.
No, it's insane. I agree. It's a total inequity between all these teams, because what if, for example, they will play 3 games in 7 days for a team who is chasing for to stay up? It's obviously a disadvantage. So for the league, it's not a bad thing and not a good image of it.
Non égalité, non fraternité. I forget the third one. But let's talk about the matches that did happen then. So first of all, the big shot on Friday night, Monaco, who have been flying up the table, insane form, went to Paris, the other team, a few inches away from the other stadium, and lost. Paris FC defeated Monaco 4-1. In fact, they were 3-0 up inside 20 minutes. An astonishing performance from Paris. I suppose the big question is, what the hell happened?
It's Monaco. It's a defeat that, but it's, joke aside, it's a defeat that perfectly illustrates what kind of teams they are. They are capable of stringing together wins against top-class opponents, as they did against Marseille, against Lyon, against Paris Saint-Germain, even. And you don't know why, but the next week they can getting trashed by a team that at the bottom of the table, and it's exactly what happened. I think that in a normal world, given their performances in recent months, there should be a team on the podium or competing for the podium.
Well, I mean, also I suppose we should also give them credit for giving them the opportunity to get back in the Champions League, because again, we gave them no chance a couple of months ago. But as it is, that defeat, they are currently 7th. That is how close this race is. So between 3rd and 7th are only 4 points, and every single result changes who's in which formation. Elsewhere, Marseille, they went to 4th after they defeated Metz 3-1. Lille went to Toulouse on Sunday and won 4-0, so Lille stay 3rd. So they currently occupy that final guaranteed Champions League spot. But the big news, of course, and the one you really want to talk about, in 5th place, Lyon. Lyon finally won again. They defeated Lorient 2-0. How does that feel? And what was the difference?
I haven't felt something like that in 9 weeks. Because Lyon 9 games, because Lyon haven't won a single game in 9, so it wasn't really convincing against Lorient. It was a good victory, important victory before going away to Paris on Sunday. But it will be difficult for Lyon to grab that Champions League spot, even if, of course, I would like to, but they will play Paris, they will host Rennes, they will host Lens, so tough sprint for the Champions League spot.
And a good word on Rennes as well, who defeated Angers 2-1, and that's their 5th win in the last 7 matches, I believe, and they are currently 6th. So Lille have 53, Marseille 52, Lyon 51, Rennes 50, and Monaco 49. So that's nice. That's a nice pattern, at least. We can always keep it. We're going to end with Ligue with a couple of other results. So Nice drew 1-1 with Le Havre, but Auxerre could not close the gap to who's the worst team in the league, as they could only draw 0-0 against Nantes. I'm a bit angry at Auxerre, to be honest, because they played the bottom 2 in the last few weeks, and they drew 0-0 against both of them. It's like, you don't deserve to catch up to Nice. It would be funny if they caught up to Nice. Right, so we'll park that there. Like I say, short League talk this week. But shall we talk about three things we may have missed? What might we have missed, Leo?
The first is something you have already talked about. I want to highlight the fact that Union Berlin had appointed Marie-Louise Eta as their new manager, the first woman to take charge of professional men's team in Europe's top five leagues. So my second one was that Aurelio De Laurentiis, president of Napoli, he spoke to The Athletic in an interview published today. And he proposed reforms which he believes would improve the game of football. Very interesting one. Just to name a few, he would like games to have two halves, 25 minutes half, with actual playing time, like in basketball, NBA, and everything. He's in favor of the creation of a Super League. He would like to reduce the number of teams in Serie A to 16. So even if a lot of things he said seem unconsidered, he is right about one thing, in my opinion, in this discussion. Really good one. You should read it, by the way.
Interesting.
He insists on something, is that young people are the future of football, and that football and the sport must therefore adapt to them. And I totally agree with that. And he also said that children and young people must be taught about football. And yeah, that's true. I don't think his reforms are actually good for football, but I think he's right in.
But he makes a good point.
Yeah, he makes a good point on.
We are talking about a product. I mean, not necessarily fundamentally the game itself, because of course, apart from the handful of rules that have changed, much like the back pass rule and stuff like that, or offside, the game is fundamentally the same as it has been for about 100 years or so. So it's more about the product around the game that needs to shift, it feels. But yeah, you make a good point. Something else you may have missed. You brought up last week in the fifth tier of English football, the top of the Vanarama National. Again, if anyone watched the Wrexham documentary, you'll know how fun that one was. This one is better. York City are still 2 points ahead of Rochdale. They are so far ahead of everyone else. 2 matches to go. Only one of them might get promoted, which is an insane thing. But I had a question for you. Did you see how many goals York have scored?
No, I didn't.
It's incredible. So Rochdale in 44 matches have scored 85 goals. Okay, so pretty good, nearly 2 a game, and consistently rely on a good defense. Guess how many York have scored?
Less or more? 100. 110?
110 goals. They've scored more goals than Bayern Munich this season.
Yeah.
Although they have played 10 more matches.
Of
11
course.
more matches. Yeah. But still, I mean, it's just what fun.
Yeah.
And you said they face each other last day of the season, don't you? That's going to be
that's gonna be fun.
Anything else you might have missed?
No. Do you?
Yes, please adopt the pose. A result to announce.
No way.
We go to the Andorran Primera, the top league. If you remember, obviously, we announced when AVS won their first match of the season in the Portuguese Primera, but there were still 3 teams in the top level of every single European country yet to win a game. Well, in Andorra, Esperança de Andorra, I feel a bit bad about this because this was actually before the international break and I missed it. So things we missed, I missed it. They went to top of the table Inter de Escalades and they won. Insane. The first victory of the season came away at the league leaders. And then they followed that up by defeating the team immediately above them in the table. So they've won 2 matches in 3. Ooh. So hot stuff there for Esperanza de Andorra, who are now, shockingly, only 4 points behind that next team. So they might not even finish last, which is astonishing. Also, comically, something I noticed, their goal difference, not even the worst in the league. And despite the fact they've been bottom this entire time. Oh, and quickly, etc., etc. We go to Cyprus. Another team has finally won last week after the international break. Cypriot side Paralimni have been bottom of the table. They've had 1 point all season. It's been a miserable experience. They scored 8 goals in 28 matches. Do you remember me telling you about that?
That's ridiculous, yeah.
They've just won a match against Ammonia Arutipo. So they've now got their first victory of the season, which is beautiful. So congratulations, those sides. Well done, well done. But there is one more. There is one team who has yet to win a match in a top flight across the entire
Tottenham?
Actually, that does remind me of my favourite stat, which is Burnley haven't won a match at Turf Moor since, is it October? I think it is, and yet they've still got more points at home than Spurs.
Yeah.
But hey, at least they're paying. Spurs fans are paying like £1,500 for a season ticket. But yes, in North Macedonia, the Macedonian First League, a team called Shkupi have got 1 point. They played 27 matches. They scored a whopping 14 goals. They have also conceded 94. So they're conceding as many goals as Bayern are scoring, that kind of rate, okay? But yes, I just wanted to announce that to everybody watching, to you, Leo, to all those engaged. Keep an eye on Shkupi in the Macedonian First League, because that's the last team. We want every team to have a victory. Every fan deserves a victory this season. So I just wanted to highlight that. So yes,
it's on our to-do list, yeah.
The rest of the season, our eyes on Shkupi. Okay, I just wanted to let you know. Right, I think that brings us to the end of the European Soccer Show. Thank you so much, Leo, for joining me, as ever.
Thank you, Daniel, as always.
Remember, everyone, you can follow our socials over yonder. We've got our X, we've got YouTube. Obviously, you're welcome to watch us live each week. And if you do, feel free to send us a comment, and we'll talk about it on the show, assuming it's nice or appropriate or mildly amusing. Or anything, to be honest. We didn't get any comments this week, so therefore I was a bit lonely. But yes, give us a follow, social media, etc., okay? And we will see you next week, where we will see if Arsenal are still going to win the league or not.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, have a great week, everybody, and farewell. Come on, Scoopy!
Goodbye, have a nice day.